Welcome back to Talkin Shop with ShopSabre. I'm Brandon, back with Jesse and Garrett.
Oh, wait a minute. You're back with us.
Wait, I'm back with you.
You're back with us.
Episode 40.
Episode 40, pal.
The 4-0.
That's a big mark,
Big mark.
I think.
Hey, I'm back.
You are. That's what I just said.
You're back.
Yeah, I've been here the whole time.
No, you weren't. You were here last week.
Yeah, I was.
Where were you?
Oh, wait. No, I wasn't.
Gotcha.
We were out of the office last
Got
week.
him on the old repeater.
Yeah, I mean, with the repeater. Yeah, we were out last week.
Yeah, no, last week we apologize for not having an episode. I was working remotely and was going to dial in, but unfortunately the guys weren't able to be in the office last week because we had to take a little COVID-cation last week.
COVID went through like a tornado in a trailer park.
Yeah, we had to take a little break, try to slow it down,
Yep.
get everybody healthy. Everybody's
Seems like
good.
it worked.
Yeah, everybody's good. So I'd say it was success. We had to work remotely last week as a group. Everybody stayed busy, but we weren't able to podcast remotely.
No, that would have been tough.
That's a little tough.
Just a 3-way call.
That would have just been a teleconference, I think, is what they call
so.
that. So, yeah, we're back.
We are. How'd your trip go?
Terrible. Thanks for asking.
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely,
Let's move on to that one.
Well, you suck, but at least you suck at a man's game now.
I left with one race car and came back with 3.
That's what I saw.
Mainly because I had to buy parts for 3.
Anybody looking for spare parts for their car?
Yeah, I'm selling a lot of used ones right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that last week's episode before, though, felt like it was a pretty good one.
It was, yeah.
Talking about the models.
You did a great job for being remote. You really
Yeah.
did.
I know it went a little long, but wanted to go through all the different models and how they kind of fit different applications.
Yeah, it was an important episode, I think.
Hopefully that helps somebody.
It definitely does.
Somebody somewhere.
Someone had to.
Yeah. But, yeah, working remotely is a lot harder than I thought it would be.
I can agree with you there.
Yeah, I did not enjoy it. I'm going to be honest with you. It's like, where is that? I know where it is on my desk, but I don't know where it is when I'm not at my desk.
We also did not enjoy it.
That's good. So
Much
we're all
better
back.
being here. Yeah.
We're all back. We're having a good time. 2022 so far has been a little testing.
A little bit?
A little bit. 2022 is like kicking my butt so far, but you know what? We're selling CNC machines still.
We are. We are still selling machines.
Yeah, it's been a good kickoff so far. We had a huge end to last year.
We did. That was
and
crazy.
I was like, all right, 2022 is going to hit. We'll take a little bit of a nap.
It's going to slow down.
Nope.
No.
Did not happen.
We're just going to push the accelerator a little
Just
further.
gonna keep going.
Yeah. Keep on trucking.
So, yeah, we're going to just have to keep pushing forward.
It's all right.
Yeah.
I'm not against it.
I'm not against it either.
No.
Hey, Garrett, are you awake over there?
I'm awake.
Are you awake over there?
No, I'm not awake.
Your eyes are barely open.
This janitor closet got smaller when I was gone.
No, you got bigger.
Oh. Hey, I grew.
It's just that tan. It makes you look larger.
Tan?
Yeah.
I'm not tan.
You're brown.
Brown.
It's easier to tan when you're bald.
It's true.
That's true.
This is true.
It is
Much
a nice,
easier.
even head tan.
Thank you.
Yeah, you must not have wore your hat the whole time.
No, I was under my race car the whole
Remember
time.
last
Surprised
year?
I got tan.
Remember last year when you came back?
No, I don't.
Yeah, only half your head was color.
I don't remember that at
I
all.
do.
But what I do remember last year is that I didn't have to lay under my race car as much as I did this year. That would have been awesome. But yeah, I know today's episode we're going to talk about linear guide rails.
Oh,
What the
awesome.
hell's that?
What the hell?
Yeah,
is
that seems to fit, Garrett. Thank you. What the hell is that? Well, a linear guide rail. It's a rail that's linear. That was
Like in a
easy.
line?
And it guides things. No, I don't know why that was what came to mind. A linear guide rail or...
Well, guys, that was the show.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. Linear guide rails. They're a guide rail. It's in a line. They're straight. Good luck.
All right, let's get real. What is a linear guide rail?
Yeah, what is it?
A linear guide or a linear rail, depending on which one you refer to it as. It's a system which helps movement. It helps you support load over a linear fashion. So basically, it's either vertical or horizontal. But basically what it is on these is your X, Y, and Z axis bearings. It is the track that everything rides along. Really common in industrial applications. So, it also is referred to many times as a precision contour guide rail. That's the formal terminology of it. But in any case, linear guide rail or precision contour guide rail are the same thing. Precision contour guide rails, it's a system that really is going to be based on 2 components. You have the rail and then the bearing track.
And rail means rail.
And
Okay, simple
those,
enough.
yeah, those two components make up what is the linear guide rail. But no component is more critical in that entire system than the ball bearing itself.
Yeah, those are pretty important.
Kind of important, right?
Yeah.
The ball bearing itself is within the system. It's not something that's going to be exposed or that you see. It's recirculating ball bearings, that connect the rail and the bearing truck together. So basically, there's going to be it's going to be very, very similar to how like a ball screw works. That's what's nice about a linear rail is it's the same technology that you have in a ball screw drive system, which we've gone over a bunch of different times.
Tons of times.
Yeah. This is what drives the system, and then it increases the precision of these machines while minimizing the play and backlash during operation. So
super critical component.
absolutely, yeah. When you look at a precision contour guide rail or linear rail, depending on whatever you want to refer to it as, it's really what gives the machine its precision.
That's very important. Most important thing.
Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at, a machine in its X, Y, or Z axis, generally speaking, you're looking for a straight plane, right?
Right.
And that's what these rails provide you, is a track that things follow along. It's like a train track, right?
Yep.
Like, it's going to go wherever these rails are pointed.
Right.
So that's really the benefit of the ball bearing, is that the ball bearing is going to have less play in there, and therefore it gives your machine, a smoother motion.
Higher accuracy.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Higher accuracy, smoother motion, higher torque even, because it can take more load. So there's a lot of things that go into place when looking at that linear motion. One thing I find kind of interesting is how most industrial machines, and I say most industrial machines run precision guide rails.
Yeah.
But
fair.
not all of them run ball screws.
No, they don't.
Isn't that kind of contradicting?
Contradictory?
Yeah, there
Is
we
that
go.
a word?
Sure, we'll go with that one. Let's
Contradictory?
go with that. Let's make that word up.
It sounds good.
You have those glasses on, so it looks intelligent.
Isn't it contradictory?
That is contradictory.
Yeah.
You making fun of my glasses?
No, you look smart.
I can see.
And you look smart.
They're awesome.
They're
You're
doing
so
a great
much more
job. They're
handsome
very
with these.
deceiving.
I take back my last comment.
But but I mean, when you think about that, it's why would you see a lot of companies out there that don't use ball screws but do use linear guide rails, and then they want to tell you that the rack and pinion system is better than their ball screw drive systems,
Right.
and it's like, well, you're using linear guide rails for that very reason. Why
Yeah,
aren't you using a rack and pinion there?
You're using ball bearings.
Yeah.
Right?
So when you think about it, I mean, that's something to be aware of, is that your ball bearing technology is your precision.
Yeah.
And the advantage to, precision contour guide rails is they're very consistent. They're going to produce a very repeatable tolerance.
Right.
Now, that being said, the tolerances of those bearings a lot of times are only going to be as good as the surface they're mounted to.
You're talking like the frame face?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because if you bolt a rail to a uneven surface,
Wavy piece of steel?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really going to be a long-term benefit to you.
No,
you're going to wear.
It'll be like a ride, right? Like
Yeah,
amusement park, right.
correct. Yeah, and there's a chance you're going to wear bearings out from
Right.
bind. But the other thing is your accuracy is going to be variable based on that track not being in a straight line.
Right.
So that's where things, like milling frames and your laser measurements and some of that stuff come into play. And that's one of the benefits of a ShopSabre. Obviously, is we use some of that equipment to make sure that our machines are put together in a way that gives you more accuracy.
Right.
Which
And we
Garrett,
got that massive mill out back.
yeah, Garrett, you showed that off in some videos, right?
Yeah, we got that online.
Yeah, I thought so. We have some videos on the mill. We have some videos on the measurement systems. So
Yeah.
that stuff all goes hand in hand. But going back to it, none of that stuff is possible. There's no point in milling a frame if you're not going to use linear rails, right?
Right.
Because then your bearings aren't going to
Waste
work
of
over.
time.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you're not going to laser measure the machine, again, you're really not getting the full benefit of that linear guide system.
Right.
So, taking a step further into linear guide rails, let's talk a little bit about it. Because of the contact between the rail and the bearing track, it's fairly limited. The machine can accelerate and decelerate rapidly and achieve increased productivity on small and large scale projects. That's one of the benefits of a linear guide rail. Linear guide rails allow everything to be predictable.
Right.
As I mentioned, they're repeatable, so users can incorporate engineering software to help with the design process. That's your FEA software.
Yeah.
Your finite element analysis.
Yep.
So definitely something to think about there. Again, the increased precision of these machines is a lot of times due to the fact that they have limited play and backlash in the bearing system.
Right.
Obviously, the more backlash you have,
The less precise your machine is, the
Correct.
less quality you're going to get.
well, it's just less repeatable.
Right.
When you have something that's changing all the time, a variable doesn't make things, easy to predict.
Right.
So you're trying to eliminate variables there. But, as you start looking at, these machines and you look at linear guide rails and understanding the evolution of them, let's start there, right?
Yeah.
First to
Just a
understand,
little history.
just to kind of back it up a little bit, to understand a linear guide rail, you really have to understand CNC in general first. CNC continues to advance. Let's be honest with each other here. Like,
Always.
CNC is never going to stop advancing. But we need to understand what can be improved on in order to make effective improvements, right?
Right.
Where are our areas of improvement first, right? What can we make better? And the first thing you looked at is, early on, guide rails were fairly simple. They just had a V guide and a roller. And, that only moved, the roller only moved back and forth. And the concept was later developed into a round bar. So you start to see these round bars with like a slide or a bearing on it, which worked well, but they're unable to handle the heavy loads that in some applications you require, especially heavy machining. And therefore, it was particularly relevant in the metalworking industry, as you start getting into mills, things like that.
Tree sap mostly.
Yeah. And then the weight of some of the components alone, from the machine frames and gantries and stuff, exceeded the capabilities of those square and round rails.
Right.
So the problem with that is they worked well for a little while.
Then they start to sag and flex.
Exactly. They start to wear out really fast.
Yeah.
So that's where the development of the linear guide rail came from, is that as CNC machines continuously got faster,
Yeah.
the bearings had to keep up.
Makes sense.
Right? V-guide rollers are not a high-speed solution.
No. They're old technology too, aren't they? Like 80s?
Yeah, like 1980s. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine. I mean, that's kind of how the world evolves, right?
Right.
Technology evolves.
You got to start somewhere.
Exactly. I mean, it's better than nothing, right?
Exactly.
That's when high-speed machining arrived, really. Is high-speed machining arrived, and none of the previous technologies were able to do the job effectively. That's why we had to evolve the bearing systems. And the industry reached a speed limitation, really.
Like hit a wall.
Yeah.
Can't go any faster.
Yeah. The accelerations, decelerations weren't able to go any further because of the fact that the bearings couldn't take it. You were literally blowing apart machines trying to make them go faster.
Gotcha.
And then, from there, a couple things really had to happen, right? I mean, at that point, manufacturers began using structural steel for their machine design, for one.
It's awesome.
And that really became, a huge advantage because now it's predictable. When you get into, structural steel, you have a predictability in that structure now that you didn't have before.
We're just removing more variables.
Yep. And, it's predictable in its characteristics and thus open up doors for computer design. Obviously it goes back to our CAD designs and things like that. But, engineering softwares, as we talked about previously, the FEA software, that's really where this, all started to come into play.
Gotcha. I'm following you.
Yeah. And then, because of this, manufacturers then also created, compatible components to fit their application. So as your gantries became, structurally sound and your frames became more structurally sound, now you were looking for, okay, what can we pair with that to make everything else fit that same level? It's one of those things where as you elevate your game in one area, you elevate it across the entire.
Yeah, you have to.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, it's one of those things like, obviously I know.
Left with a weak point if you don't, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, it's like race car. It's like, yeah, you can make the motor really, really big, but if you have no traction, it doesn't do you any good, right?
Yeah.
So you have to increase other things along the way. And that's what it was with these CNC machines. Huge gantry, huge frame, tiny bearings.
Right, now we have to have a system.
Yeah,
that
it doesn't work
supports
real well. Exactly. You have to do something to increase that. So that's where this stuff started to come into play. And that's because of this is where the linear guide rail was developed and why you see it on so many machines nowadays. And that being said, there are machines out there still that do not use them.
I've seen a few of those guide rollers on a couple of machines.
Yeah, and to me it just doesn't make sense anymore. I mean, in today's world the cost isn't much different anymore.
Yeah, my question always is why.
Yeah.
Right? If everybody else is doing this, why are you still using that technology?
And I think that's a good question because I think when we look at it, I mean, some of the things that come to mind for me of why somebody might not be using linear guide rails today is just they don't understand it fully.
They don't understand. They don't get it.
It's
not
not
practical to them, maybe.
Yeah, like to them, they just don't see the gain.
They've been using these for 10 years.
Correct. It's one of those deals. We're like, hey, it works. Why change it, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is they don't realize maybe you're not pushing the machine hard enough, right?
Right. Maybe you could gain something by changing your drive technology.
Yeah, well, it's not even that, but I'm talking about from a customer standpoint. They aren't pushing.
Oh, I understand.
They're not. Yeah, they're not pushing the machine to the levels that maybe some businesses are.
Yeah, maybe they're slower operation.
Yeah, or they don't
not
realize they
as
can
optimal.
go faster.
Right.
Because of the limitation of the machine. You run into a situation where like we only cut at this speed because if I go faster, it always cuts like crap.
Right.
Well, that's why. Like your bearings aren't keeping up and things are happening. So
Yep.
I think that's really where you have to start thinking about that stuff. Is so people are okay with this is just the way it is, right?
Right.
Rather than pushing the limits or the boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Some people
so
just get status quo, right? Like this
Yeah.
is just okay.
correct. And so as you start looking at what does ShopSabre do, right? Let's start there, Jesse. Like. I've done enough talking this morning, so I'm gonna let you jump in. But what does ShopSabre do? Like
We
really
utilize linear guide rails, right? 25 millimeter linear guide rails with triple wiper linear guide bearings, bearing blocks.
Yeah, and that's obviously going to give us added precision, right?
It does, absolutely.
I love the triple wiper
On top
aspect.
of like ball screws, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
well, exactly. But even when you look at our plasma tables and you look at our, rack and pinion machines and some of that stuff, like there's still the advantages of a linear guide bearing in all those applications. There's not a single machine we build without a linear guide bearing.
That's very true.
Like not one product we build doesn't have linear guide rails on it.
Yeah.
Like even our cheapest machines.
Absolutely.
So-
Every machine we have.
Yeah, I mean that to me is important. And then on each rail, how many bearings are we using on each rail, Jesse?
2 of them, I believe.
Yeah. So we have 2 bearings per rail. So each axis has 2 rails. So that's 4 bearings,
4
right?
bearings.
If my math is
Yep.
keeping up here early in the
doing
morning.
good. You're doing
I'm
good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Basic math. Thank you, Garrett.
Much better at math than you are talking sometimes.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know.
But you've been doing great today.
I've been doing good today.
I know. I'm surprised.
Tired though.
I-
But no, yeah, like you said, we have 4 bearing blocks per axis essentially.
Yeah, it's a lot of bearings.
Yeah. Well, what that does is it helps, evenly distribute the load or the weight, and therefore your bearings will last longer.
Oh, that's good.
And the other thing you have to take into consideration is that spacing on those bearings. That goes into that finite element analysis, and that's where
That's how we determine proper.
yeah,
spacing
like where
between
the
our
spacing of the
bearings.
bearings are supposed to be. How wide should it be? Because it's similar. I've always explained linear guide rails and bearing spacing similar to like a lineman in football.
Yeah.
The wider the stance, the more load it can take, right?
Yep.
But there does come a point where the stance is too wide, and again, it's ineffective. You don't have the torque or the power.
Right.
So you have to find that
Sweet spot.
yeah, you do. Like, because if you put your legs together and you have somebody walk up and push you on your shoulders, it's really easy to knock you over.
We should try this.
We should
Stand up and put your feet together.
Yeah, Garrett, stand up, and put your feet together.
No, I'm good.
And then you push on their shoulders, and the person
Yep.
takes a step back. They have to.
Yeah.
Well, a
Gotta keep
CNC
balance.
machine, CNC machine can't take a step back. So when you do that, something has to deflect, right?
Yeah.
And that's where cut quality issues are. Now, take that same person, tell them to put their feet shoulder width apart, and now push on their shoulders.
I ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, they're not moving.
No.
Like it's a lot harder to move that person. It's the same thing as a CNC machine. It gives you more rigidity, less deflection. Now take that same person, tell them to put their feet as wide as they can, and push on their shoulders.
Go plow them over.
Yeah, and again, they fall over. It's one of those things where, again, added deflection. So there is a right and wrong way of doing things.
Got to find that sweet spot.
So you find that sweet spot. Yeah, exactly. And that's where that finite element analysis comes in, and using the ability to say, okay, here's a linear guide rail. This is what the load capacity is. Where's the maximum capabilities?
It's awesome.
So that's a lot of what we do
Right
here.
here and right here.
Yeah, here and here.
Here and here.
Sign here and here.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, the triple seal bearing blocks help ensure debris doesn't get in the system too. So when we talked about the triple seals, it's not gonna eliminate bearing failures. It's not gonna eliminate debris entirely. Okay.
No, it won't.
You still have to do housekeeping.
Yep.
You have to clean up depending on
It'll
how
help.
Yeah, depending on how dirty your environment is, you may clean it daily.
Right.
Like
Clean up your stuff.
Yeah, there's stuff you may have to do. Like, and you know what? You can't tell you every application is going to be 100% perfection with a seal.
Right.
You have to be aware that some debris that you may be working with is very abrasive, and will go through a bearing seal.
Yeah.
So you have to, sometimes take precautions. In fact, we sell upgraded bearing kits, which
Yeah.
they have what's called a KK sweep, and it's an attachment that goes on the outside of the bearing that actually adds additional protection to the bearing seals.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Prolongs life for your bearing.
Yeah, I mean, for a few $100s, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
I know it's less than $1,000. You can outfit the entire machine with these sweeps, and it will literally extend the bearing life in some of the dirtiest environments.
Yeah.
So
That stuff's nasty.
yeah, something to think about. But the triple seals, like I said, they do help with debris, the dust buildup on the rails, and the nice thing about that is as the bearing comes along, it's actually wiping itself or wiping the rail that it's following.
Cleaning it.
Yeah, essentially it's like a snowplow, right?
Yeah,
It's moving the
little
debris out of the
snowplow.
way before the bearing actually comes in contact. So the goal is to extend the life of that bearing.
I'm going to use that just so you know. A little
That's cool.
snowplow. I like that.
Yeah. But the nice thing about that is the advantage to a linear guide bearing is, as we talked about earlier, it's a recirculating ball bearing system, but it's enclosed in basically a grease bath.
So it's always staying lubricated.
Yeah, it's always lubricated. So like you basically have, your snowplow on the outside, right?
Yep.
And then you have a bearing behind it to keep all the junk, whatnot. And then
Yep.
behind that you have a seal that keeps the oils in.
It's awesome.
Okay, so you have essentially triple seal there, or triple wipers. And as the bearing moves up and down in either direction, it's moving debris out of the way towards the end of the machine, and then it's lubricating before the bearing comes along. So when by the time the bearing reaches the part of the track that was just cleaned, it's got lubrication on it already. So you're not ever running the bearing in a metal on metal contact.
Yeah, so you're never running dry bearings. You're always
Yeah.
running lubricated bearings.
Correct. So it always extends the life. It keeps things, assuming that you've done your job and obviously
Grease the machine?
Grease the machine, because if you don't grease the greaser, there's nothing to lay
Wait a
down.
minute, I'm supposed to grease it?
Wait, what? Go back to our episode about maintenance. But yeah, when you start looking at that, it helps prevent premature failure.
That's important.
Yeah, that's a huge
I don't want to
part.
replace bearings.
Nobody
all the
wants
time.
to replace the bearings if they don't have to.
No.
And I love it. You get guys that are like, I've only got 49 hours on my machine. Okay, well, 49 hours of debris can cause problems. So it doesn't matter if you have 10 hours on your machine or if you have 100 hours on your machine. Like a bearing failure can happen if it's not lubricated properly.
Any given point, yep.
Yeah, like
you
you
don't
have.
do your maintenance.
And the other thing what people don't realize is it's like we recommend every 40 to 60 hours
Yep.
you should be lubricating your machine and
Correct.
cleaning it. But like you still should be daily checking to see is the bearing laying down grease still, because
Right.
in any environment, debris absorbs lubrication.
Yeah.
So the more absorbent your material is or your debris is, the more lubrication is going to be used.
That's very true.
The other thing to think about is that debris gets behind the seal, as we were talking about the little snowplow, right? If
Yep.
something gets behind it and clogs the bearing port, the lubrication port,
Yep.
it can't lay lubrication down if it's plugged.
No, you're gonna starve your bearing.
Correct. And so even though you only have 9 hours on the machine, if you're not being careful and watching it, and there's situations where you may end up wearing out a bearing. It's rare, very, very rare.
Yeah.
But it's something to think about.
You can do it.
You can do it. So you should be paying attention. And obviously, I always recommend after, a very debris-driven job, if you will, or a very abrasive, debris, you'll want to do a little bit of cleaning.
Yeah, you know what you're cutting.
Flush out the bearings.
Right? You know what you're cutting.
Yeah.
You know you're cutting something abrasive.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm cutting this. It's abrasive. I should probably clean my machine up after this.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Love it.
Just get it out of there.
Get it done.
Because the other thing is you have to remember is if that debris is getting into the bearing and mixing with the lubricant,
Yeah.
it can create a sludge.
I
And-
like sludge.
Once the sludge hardens, it's a lot harder to get out. So it's better to, while the bearing's warm and things have been moving, flush it now.
Yeah.
Flush it out after you're done. If you know you've been dealing with a very abrasive, application, clean it out.
Yeah, clean your sludge out.
Yeah, clean your sludge out. Nobody wants to deal with that.
Ain't got no time for that.
Never got time for that. But the design is also effective for making the machine self-cleaning. Like I said, that is one of the benefits of this, is it will self-clean itself in the majority of applications.
Majority of them.
So that's
Right.
something that reduces the need to wipe down the rails by hand.
Yeah.
And I obviously would not recommend wiping the rails down by hand too often, just because then you're wiping the grease off of them.
Right.
And if you're going to wipe them down by hand, then make sure you reapply grease.
Yep.
Because you don't want the rails to be dry. But the other thing is to watch for the buildup on both ends of the machine. As it moves up and down the axis, those wipers are pushing debris to the edges of the machine.
Yeah.
Wipe that debris pile off.
Yeah, look for little piles.
Yeah, you gotta wipe that stuff off. Otherwise, all it's gonna do is it's basically building a snowbank up.
Sludge
And-
pile.
Yeah, and basically you're running the bearing right into that sludge pile, and obviously that debris eventually overpowers the wipers and damages them.
Right, so you're getting too much sludge. It's going to start picking some of that sludge back up.
Yep. Or it'll smash the end of the bearing in and then let debris back in.
That's great.
So yeah, you don't want that to happen.
No, not at all.
Not ideal. So, that's the other thing is, when you look at machines, you want to look at how large the bearings are, how large the rails are. You don't want some of these, smaller, one way people will do it is they'll put linear guide rails on the machine and they put 10, 15, 20 millimeter bearings on
Little
them.
bearings.
Yeah. You want to be looking at something with a 25 millimeter linear guide rail.
Yeah,
I
big
mean,
boy.
that is pretty standard in CNC machining. So definitely something to think about. Even in the plasma world, we see it a lot in plasma for some reason. That a lot of plasma companies won't put linear guide rails on their machine.
Why?
That's dumb.
I don't know. They really are big on these V guide rollers, and their advertising side of it has always been, well, it's less maintenance.
That's a complete lie.
Well,
Wouldn't there
yeah,
be
no,
more
I mean
maintenance?
it's not a complete lie. I mean they're right. It's less maintenance because you don't have to think about bearing lubrication, right?
I guess.
But it's more maintenance the fact that you're still going to be replacing stuff all the time. Are you okay over there, Garrett? You've been just making a racket
He's
over there
a little
today.
twitchy this morning.
Yeah, I know.
You see
He
him?
just
He's a little
knocked
twitchy.
stuff off the bucket here.
He had 6 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
He's
How
a
many cups
little-
of coffee did you have this morning?
I didn't have any this morning, sir.
Lie.
You should have gave some to Brandon.
I need some.
You do.
That's a cool water bottle.
Not as cool as yours. What is that? Does that hold 8 gallons of water?
It's 8 gallons of water.
He
I'm
stole
gonna
that
drink
from
it
his
all.
wife.
Yeah, look at it. It's got little lines on there.
Great. It's
telling
got
him,
lines to tell me I'm
drink this much by this time.
behind or ahead.
You're always behind on that thing.
I'm ahead right now. Thanks, though.
Really?
I don't
Yep.
believe it.
Look
Show
at-
us.
Garrett, is that bottle full?
It's 4:30 in the morning, and it says I need to be here by 7 a.m. So I'm doing
Lies.
good, boys.
Yeah, look at that. You're
only-
really winning.
He only filled it up that full.
Yeah, right?
It helps when you start at the 9 o'clock line.
Yeah, he starts at the 9 a.m. line.
Just fill it up to the 9
Today, I
a.m.
think we're
line.
going to
doing really well today, boys.
Crushing.
Oh, that's funny. Back to the conversation. Sorry, I just got distracted by Garrett's racket over there.
Don't worry about me,
No,
sir.
that's all right. That's all right.
Don't worry about me, sir. But yeah, so like I said, so some of the competitively priced products out there, they don't use competitively designed technology.
No, they don't.
In fact, many are using older technology in the ways of those V-guide rollers or round rails. And it's like, when you think about it, like they'll market or advertise, as a benefit, but in reality, it's technology from the 80s and 90s.
It is.
There's a reason why it's not current technology.
I can
There's-
only imagine all the stuff you get stuck in there.
Well, yeah, I mean the debris, the amount of deflection you can get. There's just a number
Just
of
like you
limitations.
said with plasma, like slag and,
Yeah.
getting that in there. Like, I don't want to clean that out.
Well, CNC world's moved beyond that. That's what people need to remember. Like,
Yeah.
it might work for an entry level solution, right? Because you're not pushing it to the same levels. But like on an industrial application, industrial machine, like a linear guide rail should be no brainer.
I
Like
just
every
don't see how
machine.
you could get away with a V
Yeah.
guide on an industrial machine.
You just can't. I mean, that's
Yeah.
again. There's a reason why the big machines aren't running them anymore.
Right.
They're going to the linear guide rails and all your milling centers and all your precision machinery. Some of your lower, accuracy applications, they'll run certain bearing types because it's your only options you have. But again, when you get into higher accuracy situations, it's always linear guide rails.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of
no
sense.
Yeah, there's really very limited solutions that are going to be high speed machining or high accuracy machining that does not have a linear guide bearing. So some of it can be related to reducing the cost. Obviously,
Right.
if you
Cheaper.
have cheaper bearings on there, but even this is one of the only benefits. I mean, lower cost is the only benefit to
Yeah.
going with those bearings because you're not saving in any other area. You're
No,
not
you're
getting
not.
better performance. Like
Might-
you're giving
might actually
something up.
cost you more money in the long run.
It probably does because
Yeah.
low cost bearings, breed high cost problems.
Yeah.
That's the reality. It's important to stop and think about what you're doing before you just go about doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like-
So really, if you guide rollers are more expensive, they're going to cost you more in the long run.
In the long run, they
Look
could,
that
yeah,
way,
because if you cut the part twice because something didn't work right,
Right. There you go.
yeah, did you save any money?
How many times do you have to do that?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing to think about. Think about things like service. Who's going to service it if there is a problem? Well, there's not a lot of companies out there that are dealing with
Your Grandpa
yeah.
Harry, who worked in a factory in the 80s that had that technology.
Well, it's just there's not a lot of service guys that really are going to be working on 80s technology,
Right,
And
right.
then you look at the parts. Can you find them commonly? As parts become harder and harder to come by, I mean, heck, the supply chain issues that we have going on in the world right now, you can't get parts that are current.
Right.
How are you going to get parts that are from the 80s? Right? I mean, it's a lot harder to find those parts.
We go down to Ray's junkyard, see
Yeah.
if you can't find
See if I
some-
can't find a half-assembled machine still
Right.
and try to steal the bearings off
Right.
it that we don't know when the last time those were lubricated.
I heard that was
We'll
what you had
just
to
grease
do.
him up.
That's what you just had to do with your race car this past week.
Yeah, I had to go to Ray's Auto Body and steal all the parts off his cars.
It's now Brandon's used parts
Yeah,
lot.
it's great. It's terrible.
He wants to yell at us. I
I
feel
don't.
like it.
I don't even. I'm just over
He doesn't
it.
want to hear about the parts anymore. He doesn't want to hear about it at all. Like
He knows he's
racing,
gonna be here.
racing never happened.
Racing. I'm done. I'm retired.
I told you, this is a junkyard.
No, you're not retired.
Yes, I am.
Don't say that.
Life
tired this
expectancy. Life expectancy. Your guys' life expectancy. The more you talk about these parts. I'm sorry. The life expectancy. How long will the technology last under my workloads? That's something you need to think about.
Right.
And the life expectancy of how long you'll live if you keep talking about my racing experiences.
We got to take our shots where we can get them, sir.
You're taking them.
Yeah.
I'm feeling
we
it.
have to.
Shots fired
We
this morning.
have to. You get us all the time.
I do.
You do miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you
true.
very much for that one.
I had a good one earlier.
Buddy
but I
Wayne
didn't
told
want
me
to
that.
say it.
Buddy Wayne?
I
Yeah.
thought I would have made him cry earlier. I was going to say something, but
Wayne Gretzky?
too
Yeah.
soon.
Is that who said it?
Mr. Gretzky.
Yeah, that's your buddy Wayne Gretzky? You guys went and hung out
Wayne.
last night?
High school.
High school buddy? Yeah. your buddy Wayne Gretzky from high school?
You guys are tight.
That was a different Wayne Gretzky.
What? No.
It's W-A-N-E, Wayne.
It's Gratzky.
Gratzky.
You pronounce his last name wrong the whole time. But sometimes it's expectations you need to think about too. So things to think about, your expectations. Am I going to expect too much from this technology?
Right.
Okay? Sometimes that's where you need to go. Like, okay, my budget doesn't allow me to buy a linear guide machine. Okay, am I okay with expecting less from a machine? Because you're not going to get more for less.
No, it's not how it works.
Not how it works in the real world.
No.
So
No.
you're not going to find a linear guide machine and then compare it to a V-guide roller machine and say, we're going to get the same results.
That just made me think, like, it would have been so sweet if I would have got, like, paid for the Forte, but got the Optima, you know? Like, get more for less. That would have been sweet.
The what?
Like, I was talking about my car. It just clicked in my head for some reason when you said that. Like, I wish I would have upgraded me to the Optima instead of the Forte. Could haul
I thought you had
two deers at
I
one
thought you
time.
had a 150.
Yeah, it's the Kia F-150, the Forte 150, right?
Oh,
I don't know. My mind just went there. I'm sorry.
but we couldn't have gone with the Kia O150. That would have been weird.
Yeah. It's true.
The O150.
Dumb idea, Jesse.
Dumb idea.
Dumb
Jesse.
idea, Jesse.
Terrible idea.
Just want to haul more and dumb idea.
Terrible idea. Kia 150
Kia
does
050.
everything. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I take it back.
The O150.
Sorry. I
The
take it
O150. I'm gonna start calling it that because you owe him a 150 still. Yeah.
back. Sorry.
That really
It's early.
derailed the
It's
entire
early.
conversation.
I don't know why.
Derailed the entire conversation.
It's all right.
My email's blowing up right now. Speaking of email, I have like 940 emails from being out.
You have more than that.
I have more than that.
Yeah, you have
It's
more
a
than
lot.
that.
I have a lot of them. So if you emailed me, sorry, I'll get back to you. I promise. Sometime this year.
Delete all and start fresh.
That's what I was thinking. Just select read all.
If it was important, they will send another one. Right?
That's not who I am. We both know that.
No, not at all.
Speaking of that, I was in a different time zone than you guys.
Yeah, you were.
And so we go to bed a little later than you guys here because it was earlier there. And then my emails would start going bing, 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 bing in the middle of the morning. And I'm like, well, I guess we're working on 3 hours of sleep tonight.
So it's really funny you say that.
Yep.
Because like when we were
I was
at
waiting
home,
for it.
yeah,
There it
like,
is.
when we were at home, it'd be like 3:30 in the morning, right? And all of a sudden, ding, 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 and there's emails from Brandon coming in at 3:30.
Good news, it was only
Morning.
1:30 where I was.
Yeah,
I hadn't gone to bed yet.
Yeah,
Still was awake.
yeah. You think you would have figured that out by like day 2? I send all these emails at 1, and they send me a ton at 5:30.
It's true.
We just kept doing it. I love it.
It was
I
like a
love it.
vicious cycle.
Yeah, it was
It's
great.
like neither one of us wanted to receive emails. At the
No one
bedtime.
wanted to sleep either, I
Yep.
guess.
So
If
we're all
I'm not
working on-
sleeping, they're not sleeping.
It was like this evil circle.
Yeah.
But hey, we got a lot of work done.
Yeah, we did.
That was cool.
We did.
I sent some emails sometimes, and I was like, "Did I send that email?"
I do
That
all
was
the
pretty
time.
early in the morning.
Yeah. When did I send that?
What? When did I do that?
Look at all those spelling errors.
Yeah, well, that's just normal. Spell check. Turn it
I
on.
did that last night, actually. I sent an email. I woke up this morning like, oh, I sent an email last night.
Oh, look at that.
Ugh.
A little tired last night.
1:30 in the morning, I woke up. I'm like, oh, I should probably respond quick.
You know what's really hard to find in Arizona?
What's that?
Milk and cookies.
Yeah.
I couldn't find any cookies one night. We were trying to find cookies
I'm
for
just
the
glad that
racetrack.
you were looking for milk with your cookies.
Couldn't find
Sounds
any.
like you're coming around.
Nope. So, but you know what
Did
I
you
did?
see any aliens when you were out there?
No, I didn't see any aliens when I was out
Why
there.
do you say it like
They're
that?
out there.
Yeah,
No,
they're
I
absolutely
saw that.
out
Yeah,
there.
they're out there.
100%.
Yeah.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Big thing.
Okay.
I know you weren't in Phoenix, but
I
big
wasn't in
thing.
Phoenix, so definitely didn't see it.
like the
I
alien
didn't see the
capital
Phoenix
of-
aliens,
He
apparently.
was too busy underneath his race
there's a
car.
festival coming up soon out there.
I didn't have time, guys.
I see aliens.
I was too busy.
You don't have time to
fixing
look up in
things.
the sky? Like,
Yeah, if I looked up in the sky, I see the
yeah.
underside of my race car.
I suppose you can't see anything when you're laying on the ground
Yeah.
under a car.
I look up and I see the drive shaft.
Yeah, there's
oh,
a
cool. There you go.
transmission.
On the same thing. Fixing the car again. This is going great.
That new transmission looks shiny.
Nah, stupid.
You wanted to stab
Stupid.
me right there. You
I
see
did.
that
I wanted
with
to
that
stab
pen?
you.
You picked it up.
Oh, unbelievable.
I heard it ran well too, like a new one, like a champ.
Here, when we have water in the fuel, it doesn't run as good.
Did you ever think at any point it might be the owner of the car?
Nope.
You said that. You
Did not. Nope. Never considered
Never
that.
crossed my mind. Not
Nope.
one time.
Nope. Not going there. Oh, man.
I'm glad you're a good sport about it.
Yeah, I'm a good sport about it. You know what? When life gives you lemons, you throw them at your friends. But yeah, so back to what we were saying. So when buying technology, you should compare what you're getting for your investment. Obviously, what you're trying to accomplish. You know, that's where these linear guide rails are something to think about. I mean, it is something you guys need to think about when you're looking at CNC machines. Flash and sparkle is great, at, for marketing, but look under the hood. You really have to take the covers off, find out what bearings they're using, find out what you're buying, how it compares to what you're not buying. What's the product that you were considering. Compare them side by side. If you're not sure, ask somebody. Ask a consultant to explain to you what the differences are between the different products.
Right. Reach out. Pick
Yeah.
up the phone. Send an email.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge part of when you're buying equipment, and when you start getting into that, you have to start thinking about what is it that I'm going to accomplish long term.
What am I trying to do here?
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, because maybe your application doesn't require the upgraded bearings. So maybe you're fine. I can't see a situation where
I
that
can't
is
even
right.
accept what you just said there.
Yeah,
Like,
I-
I was just no. There's no situation where I need
trying to justify for
V-guides
somebody.
and rollers. No, there's nothing.
Trying to justify for somebody. Maybe you're in the 80s.
There's
maybe
not.
Maybe you're an 80s kind of guy.
There's no justifiable application
I tried.
anymore, to be honest.
Yeah, I tried. I tried to be a nice guy about it. Yeah, you shouldn't buy a machine
I
with
could
the
see you
V-guide
trying to
rails.
like formulate and come out of your mouth, and I was like, he is about to spew this.
Yeah, I
He's
was
about
trying.
to come
I was
out.
trying to be nice to people about
That's
it. But,
all right.
the reality is, I don't see any reason to go with V-guide
Well,
rollers.
let's be real. There's not a ton of machines out there that are running those, right?
There's really not.
Right.
Yeah, there's not many left. There's a handful of them. I can think of a handful of machines.
There's a couple.
But most machines are looking at, that you're looking at are going to have some sort of linear technology on them. And understanding it is just the bigger part of it. I want to explain to people what the difference in linear technology is, why a contour guide rail matters. On most routers, you're going to see it. On most mills, you're going to see it. But plasmas, unfortunately, haven't caught up yet. There's a lot of machines out there that still are not using linear guide rails. And that, to me, is a big area where you need to consider it. Is because, again, your linear motion does determine your accuracy of the machine.
It's awesome.
Simple as that.
Yeah, you crushed it. I'm glad you
And-
chose this topic today.
Yeah, and as you start looking at, things like your Z-axis,
Yeah.
all Z-axes for the majority of them run ball screw drive systems.
Majority, yeah.
Yep.
I haven't seen one really that doesn't.
Yeah, so you have your ball screw drive system there, and then if you don't have a linear guide system there as well, it's all for nothing.
All for nothing.
I mean, because again, if you're using a slide system instead of a linear system, your
How would
ball
you
screw
use
doesn't.
a slide system on your Z?
Just a round rail that goes up and
I
down.
guess.
They're on a few machines out there,
Yeah.
but you definitely lose precision in your Z-axis motion.
Yeah, you would.
Especially if you're looking at plasma, you're going to lose torch head control.
That's not important, right?
You're going to lose the accuracy in your torch head control, I should say. You don't lose the torch head control altogether, but you lose the accuracy there.
Makes
It
sense.
can affect the performance.
Makes sense.
Because think about it, if the machine moves and it doesn't move right into the correct position, it's still going to cut at a incorrect pierce height.
Yeah.
And then that leads to more dross or less dross,
Right. Or wasted
bevel.
material.
or waste of material,
Yeah.
or time fixing a machine.
Ugh.
Nobody got time for that.
No.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
You see me cringe? Like, it just made
I
me
did. I
cringe
saw
thinking
that.
about that. Like, oh, I don't want to work on anything.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to work on anything
Icky.
anymore either.
Icky.
Icky. But yeah, so I think that's what I got this morning.
I think it was good, man.
Yeah,
I don't think
that's
there's anybody in the industry that knows more about linear guide rails and bearings than you.
linear guide rails. It's just something, like I said, think about the service, the parts, the life expectancy, the expectations that you have. Make sure that you're getting into something that fits your application. Talk to a CNC consultant. Jesse, I know you guys here, you, Micah, Chad, Travis, all you guys will love to discuss this topic.
Anytime.
I think there's a huge
Anytime.
advantage there.
I won't take phone calls on this one.
I don't think so.
Probably best.
It's probably best. Probably best with that one.
Can you now accurately tell us what a linear guide rail is?
Let's try.
Yeah, it's a guide that moves linearly. Linearly.
Linearly.
This is going.
It literally
tremendous.
does that. I think
This is
It
great.
literally moves linearly.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
He went from a shade of tan to red. Like
We
not
have
that he's
a,
angry,
uh,
he's just embarrassed.
We have an opening for a new social media guy. This one's not working out.
no, he's
And
doing
it
great.
guides too. It guides
He's
things.
doing great.
Oh,
I love
guides.
it. Yeah, guides. I like it. I
Guides
like your
things.
answers.
Great.
We
Great
make-
job, Garrett.
We
You
make
listened.
things too complicated.
I'll petition to keep you.
You listened so well this morning. You listened so well.
He's
You know what?
doing the jitterbug.
2022.
Yeah,
It's your year.
I hope so.
It can be your year.
Let's do it.
You know, it's laying the groundwork now, though.
Right.
We gotta remember to lay the groundwork today. Don't wait until mid or late 2022 and then expect the year to turn around on you.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't wait. That's honest opinion advice. I wouldn't wait.
If
Now
you
is
waited
the
in
time.
2021 because you weren't sure what the economy was going to do or what the world was doing or where the supplies were coming from or whatever other excuses we have out there, it's time for 2022 to be the year. Get started.
Yeah, quit waiting.
Just
Yep.
not for Brandon's
Quit making
racing career.
excuses. Quit making obstacles.
Yep.
Get your order in.
Call, email,
Yep.
visit us on the web, whatever you got to do. But if you got questions on CNC machines, now's the time to start checking in.
Absolutely don't wait. That's one.
We
advice
learned that
I
really
give you.
fast at the end of last year.
Yeah, don't wait. We learned that quickly.
At the end of last year, it was like, and we are in July, August, December. What happened?
Right.
I went from July to December in like 3 weeks.
Yep.
It was
Yeah,
crazy.
It was nuts.
And then you had people rushing, trying to figure things out. Like, how do I get into a machine? I need to get something going, and then the lead times hit, and then
Yeah, sure. I need a machine in 4 weeks.
yeah. Sorry, we should have done this 3 months ago.
Yeah, should have did this a while back.
Yeah, but you know what? Lead times are a little bit longer right now.
Yeah,
Not going to deny that. You know, it should be expected after a big end of the year, but you know, there's no better time to get in line than now.
Right.
We have some great financing options.
The longer you wait, the longer it takes for you to get your machine.
Correct.
Right.
It's not getting any shorter. You know,
Nope.
the more people are buying, and the line keeps getting longer. So you should get in line.
That's the way the world's moving.
It's the way it is right now.
No
CNC
doubt.
is the future. So
It's here.
it's here. It's gonna
Get
be
with
gone.
it. Right.
Or what?
Or get off.
What?
Get with it or get off. That's.
What?
I don't know. I don't know
That's
what.
like terrible. That's like the worst tagline ever. Get with it or get off.
Yeah, I don't know. What were
What?
you supposed to say after that? I
kinda
wasn't
like it at a
expecting.
ring.
Yeah,
weird.
thanks, Garrett.
It's a weird one.
You can wink and blink at a blind moose, and it doesn't know the difference.
You can honk and wink at a deaf horse.
It doesn't know.
You know, wink.
Isn't it a horse?
You
It's
can
not even a
you can
moose.
lead a deaf water to a horse, but you can't make it eat.
Sure. What
I
Garrett
thought
said.
it was a moose. It's a horse.
It's
I
a
guess.
horse. Oh man. Oh, good times. All right, guys. Well, I'm Brandon.
I'm Jesse.
Thanks for talking shop with ShopSabre.